Julia Morgan thought she knew every inch of her husband. Ethan was the kind of man women envied, a successful architect, a polished speaker at charity galas, a devoted father to their teenage son. For 15 years, Julia had stood by his side, convinced their life was as close to perfect as real life allowed, until the package arrived. No return address, just a slim manila envelope left on their suburban doorstep. Inside, a flash drive. On it, grainy hotel surveillance footage dated 2 weeks ago. Ethan, unmistakably Ethan, walking into the Halcyon Hotel downtown, his hand resting on the lower back of a woman half Julia's age. They checked in. Together. Julia watched the loop footage a dozen times, numb at first, then nauseous. By dawn, betrayal settled in her chest like a stone. But she wasn't the kind of woman who crumbled. Julia had built her life on quiet resilience, on handling everything with grace. So she did what she always did. She dug. The Halcyon's front desk clerk remembered them. Ethan had used his real name. The woman registered under Kara Lang. Julia's search for Kara hit a dead end. No social profiles, no LinkedIn, nothing. Until a forum post surfaced late one night. Missing, Kara Lang, 23, last seen June 14th at Halcyon Hotel, NYC. Julia's blood ran cold. The article was sparse. Parents pleading no suspects, last known companion. Unknown male. The date matched the footage. Ethan's check-in. She confronted him 2 days later. Ethan didn't deny the affair. His confession was almost rehearsed. It was a mistake, Julia. I ended it that night. But when she asked about Kara's disappearance, his eyes flickered, a flash of something darker. I don't know what happened to her after she left. After she left. Julia wasn't sure what stunned her more, his lie, or how easily it came. A week later, she received another package. This time, a burner phone. One message. You're looking in the right direction, but not deep enough. The text came with a file, a transfer record. Ethan had wired $250,000 to an offshore account in Kara Lang's name 2 days after her disappearance. Julia felt the cracks of her marriage spread into fault lines. She hired a private investigator. Within days, the PI traced the account, not to Kara, but to a shell company Ethan controlled. Kara had never seen the money. It was hush money for someone else. The PI dug deeper. Kara had been blackmailing Ethan. She discovered irregularities in one of his architectural projects. Properties that didn't exist, payments that didn't add up. A laundering scheme. And Ethan had silenced her. How? The PI had a theory. And worse, evidence. A security footage still Julia hadn't seen before. Kara entering Ethan's private construction site and never leaving. By now, Julia's heart wasn't breaking. It was hardening. Ethan wasn't just a cheating husband. He was a man standing on the edge of a federal investigation. The PI offered to turn everything over to police. But Julia hesitated. Exposing him meant scandal, trial, their son dragged to the mud. The Morgan name, synonymous with charity, influence, respect, would crumble. Their son's college dreams, her family's reputation, gone. Or she could burn the evidence, play the devoted wife, pretend ignorance. She stared at the PI's folder for hours that night, the weight of every choice crushing her chest. At dawn, she slid the folder back across the table. "I'll handle it," she said. And she did. Julia visited the offshore lawyer, transferred the hush money, cleaned Ethan's tracks. She fed the PI enough half-truths to buy silence. She spun the public story. Ethan's affair, a shameful, regrettable mistake. Nothing more. The headlines stayed tame. The investigation went cold. Ethan never asked how she fixed it. But every night, Julia sat across from him at dinner, watching a man who didn't know his fate hung by the thread she controlled. And for the first time, Julia didn't feel like a betrayed wife. She felt like the most powerful woman in the room. Months passed. The scandal faded from whispers to distant memory. Ethan resumed his life. Charity events, board meetings, sleek interviews where he humbly apologized for his lapse in judgment. Julia played the role of the forgiving wife with perfect ease. The media praised her grace. Friends called her a pillar of strength. Ethan believed the nightmare was over. But Julia never forgot. She started with his business. Quietly, methodically, she took control. The construction firm Ethan ran under his name. Julia traced the real holding companies. Many were in her name, signed over long ago in the flurry of marital trusts and estate planning. Ethan never noticed. He never paid attention to the details when he trusted Julia to handle the family paperwork. Then came the accounts. Offshore, domestic, secret holdings. Julia locked them down, one signature at a time. Ethan's liquid assets slowly shifted under her quiet command. By spring, Ethan was still the face of the company. But Julia, she owned it. The final move came on a rainy Thursday afternoon. Ethan came home late, flustered. The SEC had called. Someone tipped him about financial irregularities. Julia poured a scotch. Listened. Someone's out for blood, Ethan muttered, raking a hand through his hair. We need to move fast, Julia. I'll need your signature on a few documents, too. She smiled, setting the glass in front of him. I already handled it. Ethan blinked. What? I made a call. Shifted the assets. I've also been in touch with the SEC. They won't be coming after you. He stared at her. You how? Julia leaned in, her voice velvet over steel. Because I know every move you made, every dollar you laundered, every mistake you thought no one saw. And now, I own you. The blood drained from Ethan's face. Julia, what are you saying? I'm saying, she whispered, I saved your life, and I saved our family. But from now on, you work for me. Ethan never touched another mistress, never questioned another decision. And Julia? She built her own empire behind a perfect wife's smile, an empire forged not from love or loyalty, but from power and secrets. Because when the world thinks you're the woman who stood by your cheating husband, they never see the dagger in your hand. By the year's end, Julia Morgan had become a quiet legend in Manhattan social circles. The woman who forgave, who endured, who never broke. But behind closed doors, she was more than a survivor. She was the architect of her husband's fate, of her family's future. Ethan remained a polished public figure, yet every deal he signed, every move he made, was orchestrated by the woman he once betrayed. The missing persons case of Carol Lang remained unsolved. Julia made sure that. The files disappeared, the whispers silenced with well-placed donations and favors called in. She didn't do it for Ethan. She did it for herself, for her son, for the Morgan name, and perhaps, deep down, because she liked holding the truth in her hands, knowing it could destroy everything with a single whisper. One evening, at a gala, a reporter asked Julia how she had forgiven her husband's scandal. She smiled, warm, disarming. Sometimes, she said softly, forgiveness is the most powerful weapon of all. And with that, Julia Morgan walked away, head high, heart untouchable. A queen in a kingdom built on silence and secrets only she would ever control.